Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost, and on this channel we're talking about the multidimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And on this video we're going to look at this question: is the narcissist a traumatized child? And I'm going to give you my viewpoint on this, right? So much information wants to understand this behavior. And in order to do that, we sometimes project certain things like our empathy onto someone else in order to understand why they might be acting a certain way and what it would take for us to act in that way. We do this with the narcissist, right? We also live in, I'm going to get onto the point, but I just want to give this in a context. We also live in a society where we've all been brought up, watching movies. And when we watch a movie like, I don't know, Batman or any movie where there's a villain, right? We love to know the backstory. In movies, they often give us a backstory of why the baddie turned bad, right? And the problem with not just understanding that this behavior is wrong and unhealthy for us, but wanting to know why someone's behaving the way that they're behaving, is that sometimes we can justify it and excuse it because we get why they're doing what they're doing, rather than draw our boundaries and standards up and say that we're not going to accept that kind of behavior. Now, there is no evidence to say that narcissism is caused from trauma. In fact, if you've been abused by a narcissist, you're the one who's traumatized. They're the one that causes the trauma. And I'm not saying that it's not possible that trauma as a child could cause narcissism in adults, right? But there's way more going on than that. It is a spiritual choice. They know what they're doing. They know it hurts their victim, and they do it on purpose because they get hit in the energetic realm, right? A psychic hit from your trauma and pain. If it was true that trauma caused narcissism, well, then everyone that I've ever, everyone here would be perhaps a narcissist, which is ridiculous. And we're not, right? It's our empathy that makes us want to understand them. And it's these narratives about, there has to be a reason why someone goes bad or to the dark side or becomes a narcissist. But that's not necessarily true. In fact, the narcissists that I've met haven't gone through significant trauma, although, of course, we can be traumatized at different levels by events that other people might not think are traumatic. Yeah. The key thing in this is it doesn't really matter where it came from. The fact is it's very, very toxic, dangerous behavior to be around. Yeah. And they're, comparing narcissists to children, I don't like, because they are not children, they are adults, and they're extremely dangerous to our well-being and our health. So it is possible that for some of them, they made a spiritual choice due to the trauma that they went through. It is true that some hurt people, but not all hurt people do. So many hurt people literally try their hardest not to hurt other people because they don't want anyone to go through the pain and suffering that they've gone through. And it is true in some psychological studies that abuse can run through generations, that abusers are created by other abusers. There is some truth in that, right? But as far as narcissism goes, on one level, if you're dealing with a narcissist and you are excusing their behavior because you've got compassion for why they might have turned that way, be mindful of what that's doing to your own mental well-being and emotional health. If not and eventually it will be your physical, spiritual, and energetic health as well. Because even if you want to find a reason for why they're acting the way that they're acting, it doesn't change that their actions and behavior are completely unacceptable on so many levels, right? So we don't want to justify it and make an excuse for it. So is the narcissist a traumatized child? I'm sure there are narcissists out there that all of us will have come across, or many of us will, that didn't have any childhood trauma, that come from great families, right? It's not a definite recipe for a narcissist trauma. Could some of them have had traumatic childhood? Absolutely, right? So I think it's not it could be an interesting question to ask on one level, but I'm more interested in our healing. And in our healing journey, what we have to understand is not to discount and disqualify how horrific and bad their behavior is just because it might have been, something in their life may have triggered them to turn that way. Yeah, narcissists are acting with an entity of consciousness that we're calling narcissism, which is why they all act in the exact same way. They know what they're doing. They know it hurts you. And they know how to change their behavior when they want to in order to manipulate people, right? They know how to love bomb. They know how to hoover. They know what's right and wrong behavior. They know what's good and bad behavior, but they get a hit off your trauma and pain, right? So for whatever caused them to make the spiritual choice to detach from their soul and become a narcissist, right, is not the same reason for everyone. Not all narcissists are traumatized, had trauma as a child or significant trauma as a child, right? It's not an excuse for the terrible way in which they treat you. Understanding why someone might act in a certain way can help us forgive them easier. I do get that. Like in terms of forgiveness, we can say, like they've made a bad choice. Yeah, we can have compassion and empathy for that. But it's not a reason to discount and think that they can't help themselves. Everyone here wants to help themselves, wants to learn, wants to grow, right? Narcissists is not interested in personal development and growth. They're not interested in changing their behavior. They're interested in getting better at it. In fact, when they go to therapy, they learn how to manipulate people more, right? They're interested in getting better at their manipulation of people, not of changing the way that they are, most of the time anyway, not of personal development and growth into becoming a kinder, nicer human being. They like to get better at exploiting and manipulating people typically. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe and share. Lots of love, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.